Good evening, everyone. We'll call this City Council meeting to order. We do have one person for the open forum, and that would be Susan Rosenberg. Good to see you, Susan. President, yes. She's President of the Garden.
I just can't say no. I'm a girl that can't say no. Okay. Tonight, I'm here tonight as president of the Richfield Garden Club, and I'm here to talk about the plant sale that's coming up this weekend. And I want to put this down so we can see the poster.
Look them up.
Okay. The Richfield Garden Club's having their plant sale this Saturday at the Bartholomew House, and it's from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And we have a wide variety of plants, and we really have an emphasis this year on butterfly gardens because we're really trying to look for ways to keep our pollinators going and so that we can eat in the future. And so we really need to look for plants and look for ways to save and help our butterflies or bees and all that. And so a lot of the plants that we will have for sale will be there to show that. And so that's this Saturday at the Bartholomew House from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. So thanks a lot.
Thanks. Thank you. Would everyone please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance up here? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time, I'd ask for approval of the minutes of the special City Council meeting of April 28th, 2015, the special City Council work session of April 28th, 2015, and the regular City Council meeting of April 28th, 2015.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We have a lot of really great presentations tonight. The first of them will be the presentation of certificates of appreciations to the Miss Richfield ambassadors. May I have the ambassadors and their leader up here, please? Join me at the mic.
Hi, I'm Evelise Dominguez, and I'm a Richfield ambassador.
Hi, my name is Nicola Bielman. I'm Abby Knipp. Well, we travel around the state of Minnesota and the metro area, kind of just volunteering and representing the city of Richfield at parades and festivals. We do a bunch of stuff like that. We worked at a special needs pageant. We stayed in St. Paul for the St. Paul Winter Carnival.
As part of our year as a Richfield ambassador, we have to volunteer 30 hours at one place, and so we've done about half of our hours at Feed My Starving Children so far, and we continue to fulfill that.
I want to thank you, too, because I know that I sit on the Richfield Foundation, and I know that you have come to our wine event, and you've been escorts and helped with that event every year. And I can't thank you enough, and it's really nice to have you. And it's nice to know that we can tap into these wonderful young women here to help us out. And I'm sure you're all going to go on to do great things. And many of you come back and do help us with our 4th of July and stuff. So thank you. I see so many faces. And you're on Facebook, and friend me because I follow the high school and then the college, and I write letters if you need letters of help and everything like this. Thank you for what you do for Richfield. I'm going to present each one of you with a certificate of appreciation. And it says, in appreciation of your participation in the City of Richfield annual 4th of July activities as of 2014-2015, Richfield Ambassador. The Richfield City Council hereby extends their sincere gratitude, presented at the City of Richfield, Minnesota, this 12th day in May of 2015. And I have one for each one of you. And I just want to say thank you, you all. I really appreciate it because I run into you everywhere throughout the city, and that's a lot of fun, and hope to see you at the 4th of July this year. So thank you. And do you want to say anything about the program? Come up here where we can hear you.
My husband and I have had the opportunity to drive the float and chaperone these girls, and I think we've had more fun than the girls have because we've gotten to go around the state of Minnesota, which I don't think we would have gotten to do had we not help chaperone these girls, so it was a good experience for us as well. Yeah.
Thank you. I want to congratulate you. Okay, Councilmember Garcia.
Oh, is it-
Yes, it's number 2.
no, it's my turn. Okay. You know, we have the Firehouse Subs Restaurant, and it's located on, what is that? What's
Lindale and 66.
Lindell and 66, but we don't have a name for that corner, for that piece of property. We do for everything else, but anyway.
Lindale Station.
Oh, there you go, Lindell Station, right. Anyway, these are Firehouse Subs are really good. And, I'm just saying that, maybe you be nice to me when I go in there and maybe put a little extra or something, I'm just joking, really. Okay, this is an item, it's a presentation and consideration of a resolution that will authorize acceptance of a grant received by the Richfield Fire Department from the Firehouse Sub Public Safety Foundation, and to authorize receipt of the training equipment to be utilized by the fire department. And I could go on and do the executive summary, but quite frankly, we have our fire chief, Wayne Kewish, here, and I think he can do a better job. I also wanted to congratulate you too, because apparently there was a press conference earlier today, and it was shown probably on 6 o'clock news, you said, and maybe other.
Yes, 6 o'clock on KARE 11.
Okay.
They did a segment on the equipment and the grant.
Hopefully it'll be at 10 o'clock too,
Yeah, so we can see it again.
We could use all the publicity we could get.
We're hoping that they put it on the web.
Oh, yeah.
That's a
Yeah,
great
yeah.
We'll
idea.
Facebook
Send it
it and
out to
tweet
us.
it and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, send it out
Okay.
to us.
So Fire Chief Wayne Kewish, please continue.
Thank you, Councilmember Garcia. Madam Mayor, council members. I'm going to introduce Ron Harris from Firehouse Subs Foundation, Peg and Roger Sitzman that are the actual franchise owners, and the representatives from Bullex, which is the company that manufactures the equipment.
Oh, wonderful.
What we're going to do quickly is Ron's going to talk about the foundation and the grant and what they've done here. And I just want to mention that Firehouse, being great food, they've also been a great corporate citizen in the community, because they also feed about 100 people at our annual Safety Day lunch. So they've been very
nice.
helpful with that, so the kids are getting a nice Subway sub
Yeah.
and chips and all that fun stuff. So without further ado, Ron.
How you doing? First of all, my name is Ron Harris, and I am the area representative for the Minnesota market. That means the entire state. This is just to give you a little history on Firehouse Sub and the Public Safety Foundation and how it was founded. The brothers had a chance to visit the devastation that was created by the Katrina hurricane that went through New Orleans, and they were really taken back by what they saw, and helped in feeding and serving the community, and they decided to start something in a way to give back. That's how the Public Safety Foundation was born. We've given over $13 million so far year to date. And in Minnesota alone, right now, this will be well over $150,000 that we've given back in the past 2 to 3 years. So I'm excited to partner with Richfield and hopefully more communities and be in a position where we can give more things that are needed. So without further ado, I guess the next person up would be
We're going to have Peg. Could you tell how the foundation makes its money briefly?
Yes, we have 3 different ways that you can donate to the fund. One is a donation box that we have on the counter at the store, at the restaurant. And then we go through like a 5-gallon bucket of pickles a day approximately. And so then when that bucket is empty, it's a nice solid bucket, so we clean it out and then sell those for $2 a piece, and we can hardly keep them on hand. And we donate that money that goes directly to the foundation. And the third thing we do is we round up. So if you come in and buy a sandwich and your bill is $7.57, we'll say, would you like to round up to the nearest dollar? And we'll donate that money to our Public Safety Foundation, and that's where it goes directly. And we're proud and excited that it's one of the things that drew my husband and I to invest in this franchise, because they gave back to the communities they're in.
Wow, wonderful.
think that's a lesson for the young people. Pennies and a dollar here, a dollar there runs up to 13 million pretty quick. So with that, we're going to show you a quick video while they get the system up and running. And what we did, this is a video of the training system in use in our fire tower. One of the beauties of this system is that we can simulate live fire, and we have a digital nozzle. Joe, if you can pick up the nozzle on the hose there, and it shoots a laser, so we don't actually have to use any water. So you know how we love to train with live fire?
Yes.
But it's very expensive, it's very dangerous, it's very difficult to do. With this system, we're able to do it any day of the week we want to. So if the captain wants to turn around and run some live fire training, they can do that. So this is actually in our hose tower taken. So it's it looks, you know, very realistic. It's got the right sound and all that fun stuff. So Madam Mayor, if you wouldn't mind, if you'd like to put out the fire with firefighter Halaska here.
I better get some help over here. I know how these gun tanks work.
Yeah.
Mr. Devich wouldn't allow us to smoke up the council chambers, so
Make it
we thought about doing that for about 30 seconds. Yeah, just go ahead and open it up.
Oh, wow.
Look at that.
And the beauty of the system is that we can put those panels anywhere. We can change the intensity of the fire. And if they're not doing it right, the fire will come right back. And the other thing is this system will be used throughout the Southwest Metro as part of our joint operations training. Yep. Yeah. Oh, it came back, Mary. You got to put it out again. Better put it out. There you go. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much.
You know, that could come in handy for other purposes. Well, I'm just thinking, you know, our city manager's sitting there and
Yes, 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 yes. Thank you. That's a really cool demonstration. That's very nice. Yeah, it is.
okay, now.
The next is,
No, wait a minute, I have to do the
oh, you had
resolution.
to do the resolution. That's
Okay,
sorry.
let's see.
You just gonna move it, please?
So, yes. So I move that we approve the resolution authorizing acceptance of the grant to the fire department from Firehouse Subs Public Safety Foundation and authorize the use of the equipment to the fire department.
Second.
Discussion? Exciting.
Well, I
Wonderful.
just wanted to say, you know, it's really great that we get a business that moves in and immediately wants to invest in the community. And, you know, we really appreciate it because that's the way we do business in Richfield.
You bet. Thank you. Thank you for that. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have a presentation by CenterPoint Energy on the Richfield service replacement and yard restoration. And thank you for being here because I was one of the yards that got ripped up and torn up. So I appreciate you coming and talking about this. And I know I've heard from enough residents.
Yep.
Please introduce yourselves.
I'm Todd Norgan with CenterPoint Energy. I'm the area manager I'm the construction services manager for CenterPoint Energy. Brett Nicholas with me. He's one of our engineers at CenterPoint Energy. So good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. We'll give you a brief overview of the construction project planned here for Richfield. So yeah, it's called the service replacement yard restoration. It really is a project for the most part that's in conjunction with the city's paving plans for this year and beyond. And we also have some additional improvements that we're making to our system. This slide here is just meant to depict the kind of the history that CenterPoint Energy has in Minnesota, including Richfield. We've been around for quite a long time and are committed to Minnesota. We've just moved into our new headquarters building here in April. Again, showing commitment to not just Minneapolis, but our entire service footprint with Richfield. We also, our employees are very involved in the communities in which we live and work in, and various community activities. We've earned the Civic 50 Top Community-Minded Company Award here recently. And for the city of Richfield, we began working with them, and we have worked with them for a number of years. But a few years ago, we renewed the franchise ordinance with the city and the franchise fee ordinance, and with the focus of that being on paving and resurfacing streets. So that was an opportunity for CenterPoint Energy also to partner with the city around our own system as well. I'm going to turn it over to Dean, and he can go through some of the details as some of the plans.
Yeah, this slide here just shows a little bit, some of the work we're doing within the city of Richfield, really collaborating with the City of Richfield Paving Group. City has a project to repave the city streets in the next 6 years or over a 6-year period. We're trying to get ahead of that paving group with, replace a lot of our older infrastructure. And last year, sounds like we were maybe in your neighborhood either late last fall or this spring. So we're getting ahead of the paving project and showing the green area here that's set up for paving for this year. We're gonna also go ahead and throughout the summer, starting midsummer, so we'll go into the blue area there, which is the area that's set up for 2016 paving. So we'll start that a little earlier this year. We'll start in the summer, somewhere in the range of 50 to 60,000 feet of main and about 1,500 services through there. So we'll continue this process throughout the paving schedule. We'll try to get a year ahead of the paving so that's completed. So springtime, it's kind of ready for the new paving to take place.
Now, and if somebody has some problems with the restoration of their yard, how do they get a hold of you folks?
You know, there's a couple different options. There's a slide a little bit later on. What we've got a website, a construction website that actually has this project listed on it. In that, there's, yeah, we can go to that real quick, I suppose. Yeah, there's, well, that sign, I guess ahead of time first.
Okay, contact.
This sign will be there's a CenterPoint Energy sign that we put at the start and ends of the projects.
Okay.
So as you're entering the project, if you have questions about the project, we've got a website right on that sign. And also we've done mailings and things like that people get notified of the project.
Okay.
And then once you go to the web, there's a restoration number on that. But then also once you go to the website, each of our cities has their own link. So Richfield will have their link for the project. Okay. And within that project, then there'll be information. And this is actually the Richfield 12th Avenue to Cedar Avenue. This project already is on for this coming summer. That project's on the website right now. So once you get in there, there's information about the project there.
Yeah, I get a lot of residents. I know you guys send out mailings and everything, but they still somehow they forget about it or don't get it or just it gets stuck with another piece of mail or something.
And I get calls from the city of Richfield within the Public Works Department. You know, we work really close with them. So if there's issues, we try to respond right away with those. So that's our projects. You know, there's also multiple other projects going on. There's Hennepin County with 66th Street, Portland Avenue, the Intercity Trail. All those things, we're really working close with the city, county on those projects. So we're trying to make sure we're replacing, upgrading our system prior to or with the construction project.
I know that was one of the conversations we had with Public Works Director Mike Kiesling when he was still here regarding getting ahead of that so that we didn't tear up the roads a second time after we just put them back down. So I appreciate the fact that you're moving really fast and moving this forward. Yeah,
it's a big project. We've committed, you know, a lot of dollars to this. That was a little bit of the slow start from last year was just getting funding for it. We had the funding set up for this year, so getting into last year was a little tricky, but we were able to collect the dollars needed and got it started on it last year. So
we get good weather this year.
Yeah, and a good start for this year, so we're in pretty good shape. This is typical, you know, with a lot of the residential services, we're replacing new main out in the street. We're also replacing service lines, and with the meters, we're moving the meters outside. Just kind of a typical inside meter on the upper left and a replacement meter. Just shows some of the work that we do there. This is a kind of a typical yard restoration. The main will be on a boulevard. We'll expose that main. We shoot underground up to the corner of the house and then shoot into where the meter's set. So we try to do minimal yard restoration, and then the right-hand side is just kind of when the crew leaves, that's what you'll see it until our restoration crew comes in after that.
And can you tell us why you're removing them from the homes?
A lot of it is safety. If you look at, there's some safety, there's some convenience there. If you look on the upper left, there's a lot of piping inside the house with the regulations, so we're cutting pressures inside the house. With the new meter set outside, number one, it's got an outside shutoff out there rather than having really no shutoff for inside the house there. So any type of emergency, we've got a riser on the outside, we can just shut the meter off right away. And it just brings a lot of that other piping potential leaks outside the house. So. So the typical yard restoration, there's our website that we kind of talked about already in the website there. Restoration, you know, we have to restore all the streets, curbs, sidewalks, boulevards, lawns. You know, all those things have to be done. That's all at our cost. There's no charges to the homeowners for either removing the meter or moving the meters or restoration, things like that. So, And then, yeah, just kind of a closing, we're replacing some aging infrastructure, important to our integrity of our system. Really apologize for any inconvenience, but appreciate your patience. A lot of times if there's local businesses in the area, we will sign that says, you know, local businesses are open, please patronize those businesses. So we do understand there's a concern with businesses during construction, so.
Yes.
And then we restore the property once we're disturbed, once we're out of there. So.
I just want to encourage people too, when they see that, please water that grass so that it
Yes.
grows. Otherwise, we'll end up with weeds. That's very nice. That's really nice of you to come out and talk about this, so I appreciate this.
Good, thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have a presentation regarding the National Public Works Week.
That's right. And I just want to reiterate that we have worked really well with CenterPoint Energy while they've been here. And I don't know if you heard the 1,500 services. I think they actually replaced more like 1,900 is the plan for this year.
Wow.
With the 2015, this year's mill and overlay, they've been working on that already this summer. They got another 1,500 they're planning to do later. So, thank you. Yes, it's Public Works Week next week again.
Yes.
And so, as usual, the Public Works Department likes to make a little bit of a fuss about that. In the last year, we had the coloring contest, and working with elementary school was really good, and we enjoyed that. So this year, we decided to get back with them, and we did a video, and we went to, there would be no, 1 second. So I just wanted to thank the people in Public Works that spent the time with these kids. It was Jared Voto who worked with the district, the school district, and it's a STEM school we did with the 4th graders. Russ Lupkus, he did all the tours. Mike Eastling did some presentations at the beginning. Chad and Mark were there to show off some equipment at the end. And Lucas Johnson, of course, did the video. And then Luke Smith from the water plant did some testing. It's just 3 minutes.
Okay, here it comes.
There would be no community without the quality of life Public Works provides. This year's Public Works Week theme, Community Begins Here, speaks to the essential nature of Public Works services in support of everyday quality of life. In honor of Public Works Week, this year we invited Richfield STEM School's 4th graders over for a tour of the Richfield water plant. It began with Mike Eastling giving the students an overview of all the Public Works operations, and then it was on to the tour. Butch took them on a tour of the water plant, and they were able to see all aspects of the process that makes Richfield's water the best, starting with the pipe that takes water from hundreds of feet underground into the plant for treatment, to the tanks where the water gets softened with lime and soda ash, then moves through clarifiers. At this stage, the water is tested hourly for softness and other quality measures. Luke demonstrated a typical test for the students. The water is then disinfected, and then it's on to the sand filters. Once the water is ready to go, it's either piped out to your home or stored in one of Richfield's 2 water towers. The kids were more than happy to share some insight into what they learned and what they liked best about Public Works.
When you guys get the water from the ground and you make it fresh water and we drink it.
The streets. Putting on the trees.
You guys do community service for the whole Richfield.
It pumps clean water for us.
That they help us and we get a lot of water to keep us alive.
I learned that where all of the water is cleaned and where all the water from our faucets comes from.
Seeing them plow the streets during winter and seeing the street cleaners clean the streets.
Probably that they work with so much stuff in the city and that they can help everything that gets broken down or anything like that.
I like how they maintain Richfield and they're like the head of Richfield kind of.
I like that too.
Plowing. And the street lights.
Well, I'd have to say planting the city trees. It's something that needs to be done more often to clean the air out.
I like planting the trees and removing the broken down trees.
Thank you. I'd like to say thank you for doing this profession.
Good job and keep going.
Thank you.
Thank you for helping our city and that you can do whatever you need to when something hard comes.
Thank you, Public Works, for making this field trip so fun. Thank you very much. We wouldn't have water without you. Thank you for all the water that we drink and how clean it is. I would like to say thank you, Richfield Public Works. Thank you for making our place safe. Oh, thank you.
That's wonderful. That is really nice.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. We'll probably
And that's going to go up on our front page of our website, right? Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll Twitter it and
Okay.
and all that good stuff. So thank you.
Well, congratulations and thank you for the hard work. We appreciate you. Appreciate you. Next is a presentation of the Richfield Tourism Promotion Board on their financial report for the end of the year, December 31st, 2014 and 2013. Who's here? Anybody here for the tourism presentation, or
Oh,
is
I
staff
thought there would
doing
be
that?
somebody, someone was supposed to be here, I thought, but
Okay. Are they out there talking in the
I don't know.
area?
They're out touring.
So maybe
You know,
not.
with the changeover, in the Chamber of Commerce, I think some of that
Okay.
stuff might have.
Okay, so would you pull this and put it on the next
We'll
one?
put it on the next agenda.
Put it on the next agenda item. Councilmember Garcia, you're up again.
Sure.
This is a presentation of a Minnesota's certified municipal city certificate for the Minnesota Clerk and Finance Officer Association to the Richfield Deputy City Clerk, Teresa.
This is Teresa Shima, and you know one of the things she wears other hats besides deputy clerk, and that's one of the criteria I think for working in Richfield. You gotta wear many hats. But you know it's always great to have a city employee that will move to learn and to take part in opportunities such as this. And Teresa, you know, I was kind of keeping my fingers crossed that you would be city clerk, but it didn't happen because you didn't apply. But anyway, we're really proud of what she's accomplished, and I just want to read to you the Municipal Clerks and Finance Officers Association of Minnesota has conferred the title of Minnesota Certified Municipal Clerk upon Teresa Shima this 18th day of March 2015.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Gotta have a picture moment. All right, nice picture. Thanks. Always nice to have good things like that to say about Richfield and Richfield employees. It's wonderful. It's wonderful to have great things to say about Richfield employees like that.
Absolutely.
Any other comments or anything?
Well, I just, you know, it's really impressive because, you know, we don't know all the employees naturally, but once in a while, you know, we do have some direct interaction with them, and I've yet to meet an employee that was not knowledgeable about whatever I called about, you know. And Teresa, you give her a call, and if she's not at her desk, it's just a matter of almost seconds, really, when she calls back. She's very dedicated, and I think very focused in her work. And you know, it's just great that we have her on board. And then we appreciate that you took it upon yourself to become a certified city clerk. Thank you.
Thanks. We'll move on to hats off to hometown hits, and I'm going to start over at the other side here. Councilmember Fitzhenry, you have some stuff already.
I do. Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, I want to remind everybody, it is Police Week, National Police Week. In Minnesota, they will celebrate starting the 14th at the Police Memorial that's over in St. Paul by the Capitol. At 8 o'clock, they'll start posting 24-hour type guard over there, followed by the 15th at around 7:30, they'll have a candlelight visual. And it has posted there. If you haven't been there, it's really unique. It's something to see. And I think in this time of day, we need to start supporting our officers. There's a lot of things happening out there, and they don't feel they're supported. So I'd suggest that everybody, at least this week, thank a cop. And then I got one other item dealing with a cop. Well, I'll talk about it anyways. There he is. He's good at zooming out. We'll have our Memorial Day celebration on May 25th at 2 p.m. at our All Veterans Memorial Site. And why I mentioned the cop part, we're going to be honoring with the name being placed on the tablet of our only officer to die in the line of duty in Richfield. It would be Fred Babcock. And we've been kind of working on this for a while. We realized he's a veteran. His name wasn't on there. So I want to thank all the groups that decided, let's put it on there and get it done. And the guest speaker will be Floyd Roman. They're both World War II vets. And if anybody knows Floyd, he's been around the city forever. We think he's really a statue that moves because he's been here forever. He was one time head of the BCA and that, but Floyd was working with Babcock when the incident occurred, and he'll be the guest speaker there. So, and I think he just recently didn't he do a talk with the Historical Society or something? Was well received. So I would suggest everybody show up. We are going to have the 34th Red Bull Band again. Awesome band.
They're great.
Yeah, and it's a great time. We keep it short so everybody doesn't get sunburnt or rained on, whatever happens. And I do suggest everybody show up because it's getting bigger every year, and it is just one awesome event.
Yep, bring a chair.
Yep, bring a chair.
And now isn't I believe that the VFW is going to have a meal before if you wanted to go over to the...
Well, the VFW is saying that there'll be food and beverages available for purchase at the Fred Babcock post, and that is from 11:30 a.m., to 1 p.m. And so they do have something over at the VFW.
So if they want to stop over there first. And
Yep, so you can stop over there. I'll be at Fort Snelling running over to our thing.
Yeah, I may be doing the same route.
Thank you.
Okay,
Madam Mayor, if I could just add, just to put some perspective to it, Floyd Roman, who's a great guy, is going to be speaking, but he was on duty that night that Fred Babcock was shot, but that was June of 1948.
Yeah.
Just to put it in perspective.
Yeah. Quite amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And he's still around
And
here,
he's
and I
still
know
around.
he writes me letters, and so we write back and forth to each other.
Certainly a cool guy.
Yeah, he's a wonderful man, and he still cares a lot about Richfield. It's wonderful to have him here still for so long. Councilmember Howard.
I just had one item. We just before the meeting had a work session on, I believe it's 6 proposals for the development over at Cedar Point. And it's really exciting to have 6 proposals for this site, and they range in kind of their ideas, what they're looking, but the council would really like the ideas and input from the public, especially those that live in close proximity to the area. And one of the things that I think was constant from the council and from the developers as well is a desire to see that move forward in a way that fits within the community, and we really want to hear that input. So I just encourage folks to reach out to their council member, and also I believe online on the city's Mind Mixer website, you can view some of those proposals and weigh in electronically as well, and give us a chance to hear your take.
All right. Thank you. Councilmember Garcia, you have your list?
Yes, but I'm gonna have JT, our Community Services Director, start out. Oh, and I wanted to say to Councilmember Fitzhenry, I do the jokes.
Ouch.
I couldn't resist that either.
And territorial, are we?
And competitive.
Madam Mayor, council members, I have 2 events to go over today. Both are happening this weekend. The first is our annual garage sale. we have like 100 garage sales happening, starting Thursday for 3 days, May 14th, 15th, and 16th, from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And today at the community center, just incoming traffic all day long, picking up their garage signs, their garage sale signs. So if the maps are free this year, and they can be picked up at the liquor store, and they can be picked up at the community center and City Hall here.
And
then
Woodlake Nature Center too.
And Woodlake Nature, oh, thank you. And then next
I
is
just ride along with Edwina.
Yes.
the farmer's market is opening this weekend. And
Yes.
did you know that 25 years ago, in the year 1990, was our first farmer's market season? So this year we're commemorating the 25th anniversary. And starting out, we're going to have the same stuff same great stuff we always have. We have syrup there, homemade salsa, sauces, natural beef and chicken, cheese and eggs, buffalo burger, Tibetan dumplings, Greek
those are
food.
good.
All the good stuff is returning. This particular Saturday, I think there'll be herbs featured there from growers. Whatever's starting to grow. We are a much better growing season this year than we did last year, so there'll be more good stuff to begin with. And we're also, as part of the anniversary, every Saturday has a different kind of theme to it. The first Saturday here is our raffle day, so we'll be raffling off lots of prizes that we're collecting from our growers. Starting the next week, the Richfield Garden Club will be there selling bedding plants. And of course, our master gardeners are there every week, every Saturday morning. And we'll have music every Saturday morning as well. This Saturday, we're featuring Dave Kelly. He's a folk singer. So hopefully you'll come out. I think the weather's going to be great. So it's just a nice gathering.
Thanks.
Thank you. And let's see, we've got Plex Academy, which is located at the Hub Shopping Center. They're going to have an information session for parents and students interested in exactly what kind of educational programs they offer. And that will be Thursday, May the 14th, and Thursday, May the 28th, from 6:30 to 8 o'clock at Woodlake Nature Center.
Oh, wow.
And then next, we have, is there anyone here from Human Rights? Oh, okay. The Human Rights Commission, along with the League of Women Voters, will hold a public forum on human trafficking, and that will be May the 16th at City Hall from 9:30 to 11 o'clock a.m. And, one of the great things that, our commissions do is they collaborate, with the League of Women Voters and then other agencies or organizations. And, we really, like at the last forum we had, it was very, very impressive. We had about 65 people there. So if you get an opportunity to attend this, May 16th, 9:30 to 11 here at City Hall on human trafficking. And this is a very, very important issue, and an issue that, we should find out more about. So, and I believe that's about it, Mayor.
Oh, my short list today.
Yes. Well, I had my assistant help me out.
Lovely assistant. Councilmember Elliott?
I was going to say, she still exhausts all my opportunities.
I know she does.
Where do you go from there? A couple things, and it's kind of interesting, and it's hats off to Richfield. And my hats off is basically, I was first introduced to Floyd when I was 9 years old, and he was in his official capacity. And I stayed in close contact with him until I was 17 and managed to get out and join the Army. But it's been wonderful because Floyd and I have kept that secret all these years, and I believe the records are sealed now, so I'm in pretty good shape. But it's that time of the year where all the sports teams for the high school out and well into their seasons and everything, and there's a number of ways we can support our school district in sponsoring their teams, and going and watching participate is one way to show support for the schools and for the teams. And when I ran for office, it was nonpartisan. It's leaned a little bit people to my left are much to my left. So with that being said, this is nonpartisan, but I just want to congratulate. And the school gives awards to a male athlete and a female athlete every year. It's a Tom Spooner for the male and the Athena Award for the female athlete. And I have to put on my bragging hat because Emily Christian is my grandniece, and she is the Athena Award winner for the high school this year. And comes from obviously a wonderful family, and she's going to matriculate to, I think, Northern State in South Dakota on a partial volleyball scholarship and study biology. And she's just a wonderful kid, and is, you know, she stands out to me because we're related, but she is an emblem of all the students at Richfield. They do well, they participate, and they make the community proud by moving on and participating at college, both in academics and sports. So it's a credit to the city, the kids we pass on to the colleges of the nation.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Anything else? I want to say that one of the best celebrations we have, and one of the most fun I ever have, and I've always loved, and it's a reason to move into Richfield, is the 4th of July we have here. It is 3 to 4 days of party and fun, and great family fun, and I so enjoy that. But it would not be possible without people putting in a couple of hours. And I know I volunteer a couple of hours. I go, usually, you see me up there serving the beer, and sometimes I get Pat to go do it with me. They know that we're not going to drink it. But you know what? I want to implore people to get up online and volunteer for this. We always need volunteers, and nobody wants to work the late shift. I work the late shift, so I do that and help clean up at the end. I don't mind doing that. I'm up anyway, right? And I have such a great time, and you only have to put in a couple of hours throughout those several days, and they just need a few extra hands here and there. And it's a lot of fun, and you meet new people in the community, where I meet a lot of young families that are coming into the community. I really enjoy that, and I enjoy my time there. I'm out at the movie night with the kids and everything like this. I have such a great time. So I implore you to get up online and sign up for one of those volunteers. I also want to think I'm excited about the farmers market. I'm down there a lot, so if you want to talk to me, that's where I'll be. My mayor's office hours move from the Nature Center now down to the farmers market. And I'm there more than just the last Saturday. I'm there all the time. So please come by and say hi and stop me if you want to chit chat. That's kind of where I go out for my socialization too. So I want to thank that, and I want to thank the staff for the work that they did on the presentations that we had to go. We have 6 developers, and there's a lot of information, and they coalesce things for us, and they're making it very easy for us to move through this process, but it's also a lot of work for the staff. We understand that, so I want to say special thanks out to the staff. And then, Edwina, are we riding together on the garage sale, hopping around?
Sure.
Thursday?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. I'll ask for approval of the agenda as it stands.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. And we have a long consent calendar, City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. For those in the audience, the consent calendar contains several separate items which are acted upon by the City Council in one motion. Once the consent calendar has been approved, the individual items and the recommended actions will also have been approved, and no further council actions on those items would be necessary. Tonight, we have several items on the consent calendar, starting out with consideration of the approval of the purchase of a point-of-sale and inventory tracking system from Retail Information Technology Enterprises for a one-time sum of $53,236.76 and a first-year estimated annual maintenance cost of $9,322.71, and these are for the 4 municipal liquor stores. Item B, consideration of the approval of a resolution authorizing the acceptance of Office of Traffic Safety funds for a 4-year grant to fully fund an officer and fully equipped squad car dedicated to DWI enforcement in Richfield. Item C is consideration of the approval of resolution authorizing the Richfield Housing and Redevelopment Authority to reduce the original tax capacity of the Gramercy Park Cooperative Tax Increment District due to the homestead market value exclusion. Item D is consideration of the approval of a resolution authorizing the Richfield Housing and Redevelopment Authority to reduce the original tax capacity of the Lindale Gateway LLC Tax Increment District due to the homestead market value exclusion. Item E is consideration of the approval of a resolution authorizing the acceptance of grants received by Richfield Recreation Services Department from Hennepin County for youth sports equipment and to authorize the Recreation Services Director to execute the associated grant agreements. Item F is consideration of the approval or of the following items related to the Penn Avenue Tower reconditioning project. One is to accept the bid minutes tabulation and award of contract for the Penn Avenue Tower reconditioning project to TMI Coatings Incorporated in the amount of $992,450. And two is to authorize the city manager to approve contract changes under $100,000 without further city council action. Finally, item G, consideration of the approval of resolution directing parallel private utility undergrounding within the project limits of the Portland Avenue reconstruction project between 67th and 77th Streets. And that would conclude tonight's consent calendar.
I'll move the calendar.
Second.
City Manager, can you just tell us how fabulous item B is about having an officer, what that does for the city of Richfield?
You know, actually I would, but I would invite Jay Hanthorne to say that because
This was exciting when we were putting
a big
the agenda
deal.
together.
Your assistant.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and council members. This is a very exciting grant for us. Only 8 cities in the state of Minnesota received the grant funding to fully fund a police officer and a squad car. Over the course of the grant, it will approximately be $575,000. This officer will be dedicated to DWI enforcement. We'll also use the vehicle strictly for DWI enforcement, and that's all we can use the vehicle for. But some of the constrictions of the grant are that everything has to be made in the USA. So we are, out there searching and trying to find equipment to outfit our squad for items that are made in the USA, but also having to do a lot of waivers for the state of Minnesota and the Office of Traffic Safety to make sure that we comply with the grant.
Okay. Well, congratulations, and it's really nice to hear, and I think this is very worthwhile for our community.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Okay. Any other comments?
Well,
All
there
those-
might be some people that disagree whether it's worthwhile if they get
Yeah,
caught.
those who get caught. Those who
See, I'm
get
still on
caught.
the joke, Sid. when
Yeah,
you-
yeah, yeah. Oh, boy, Edwina.
Oh, that's good, that's good.
All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries. Councilmember Elliott, you have the public hearing.
Thank you, Your Honor. This item calls for a public hearing regarding the consideration of the cable communications franchise application of CenturyLink to provide service to the city of Richfield. On March 24th, 2015, the City Council considered a request from CenturyLink to grant a cable communications franchise to provide such services to the city. Pursuant to this request, the city initiated the process prescribed by Minnesota Statute 238.081 by publishing a notice of intent to franchise in the Sun Current and mailed the notice directly to the existing provider Comcast and the prospective applicant CenturyLink. The closing date for applications was established as April 24th, 2015. CenturyLink was the only prospective provider that filed an application within the application period. The next step in the process is to conduct a public hearing regarding the application submitted by CenturyLink in order to take public comment on the matter. Brian Grogan, the attorney for the Southwest Suburban Cable Commission, of which Richfield belongs, will address the City Council concerning the application and the process that will follow before the ultimate decision to grant or deny a franchise would be considered. The final City Council action on the franchise request is expected to occur sometime early this summer. Mr. Grogan, fill us in.
Thank you. Mayor, members of the council, again, for the record, my name is Brian Grogan. I'm an attorney with the Minneapolis law firm of Moss and Barnett, here today representing the Southwest Cable Commission. I'm nervously looking at this monitor, waiting for this PowerPoint to pop up. That wasn't a joke. That was necessary. There. When I was last before you, I was presenting on the Comcast transfer, you may recall. And we were discussing Comcast leaving the market and a new entity taking over for them. And as you may have read in the last few weeks, Comcast has terminated that transaction. So basically that entire action is rendered moot. Comcast will continue to serve under the franchise that the council granted about 2 years ago. That's a 10-year franchise. Today we have a new applicant to provide competitive cable TV service. And I know this is basic information for the council, but maybe not for the viewers. This is on a separate wire. In other words, we have Comcast has a set of wires out in the city, both underground and on poles, that they use to provide voice, video, and data services. The applicant in this case is CenturyLink Communications. Again, for those who may not be familiar, they took over for Quest a few years back. They have a separate set of wires on the poles and underground, and they'll be providing or seeking to provide a competitive cable video product so that consumers, if a franchise is ultimately awarded, would have a choice between Comcast or CenturyLink. The purpose of tonight's public hearing, at least as it relates to my presentation, is to give you a little background about what you're going to be confronting as you consider this application, some issues under state and federal law. At the end of this hearing tonight, though, there's no action requested of you. So this is just a preliminary matter. We'll be back in front of you in the weeks and months to come with hopefully a proposed franchise where we'll be able to drill down more specifically on some of the unique issues. So I wanted to begin by just indicating that federal law really encourages competition. It's one of the stated purposes of the act is to promote competition. Again, under federal law, the standard that you're held to is that you will not unreasonably refuse to award a competitive franchise. So a standard of reasonableness is applicable here. Frankly, it's fairly rare that you see a competitive franchise denied. The question is more related to on what terms will that competitive franchise be granted, particularly as it relates to the incumbent operator's Comcast franchise. In the interest of your time this evening, I'm not going to go through every single date except to say that the staff for the city carefully worked to comply with the state statutory mandates for how to process a competitive franchise. At the end of the franchise procedure, only one application was received, and that was from CenturyLink. And as of this date, with the conduct of this hearing, the city has fulfilled all of its statutory obligations. We do have a few provisions under both our local franchise with Comcast and state and federal law related to the concept of competitive equity. That's the idea that one operator will not be held to a completely different set of franchise obligations than the other competing operator. And specifically in the Comcast franchise that the City Council adopted 2 years ago, the provision essentially says that if the city were to grant a more favorable or beneficial franchise to a competitor, Comcast would have the option to opt into that. So the law is structured in a way that you don't necessarily hold the new competitor to identical obligations unless you can reach mutual agreement with them. But to the extent you give a more favorable deal to a competitor, the incumbent operator would have the option to opt into that. We contractually agreed to that in Richfield and throughout the Southwest Commission. Many cities in the state have a similar type of provision. It's just important to keep in mind that as we negotiate a franchise with CenturyLink, it could potentially have an impact on our contract with Comcast as well. Also, a few state statutes I wanted to bring to your mind again tonight, just for background information. State law has its own level playing field requirement. It says that we're not to grant a franchise that's more favorable or less burdensome on things like franchise fees, local public educational and governmental access obligations, and more importantly, the area served. So the franchise area that we grant to a competitor cannot be more favorable or less burdensome. And drilling down on that issue, the statute also says that for an initial franchise, in this case, CenturyLink would be obtaining an initial franchise, the construction throughout the authorized franchise area must be substantially completed within 5 years from the grant of the franchise. That's an issue that is likely to be discussed and debated as part of this franchising process. Many of you may have read in the newspaper in Minneapolis and in other communities that that's an issue that CenturyLink has a position that's not necessarily the same as state law, but they believe is consistent with the federal law. And to that end, we do have a federal statute on this issue, more particularly an FCC regulation that interprets a federal law. And I'm going to collectively refer to it as a 621 order. It's just a catchphrase that the industry's used for this. And that order specifically said that it's unlawful for a local franchising authority, in this case the city of Richfield is the local franchising authority, so it's unlawful for you to refuse to grant a competitive franchise on the basis of unreasonable build-out mandates. You can already see this is starting to butt up against the state statute that I just read to you a moment ago. I'm not going to go through this slide in detail, but I have it in front of you for your background reading. The FCC went on to explain what they thought was reasonable and unreasonable build-out mandates that franchising authorities may impose on competitive applicants. So the question that we're ultimately going to face is, do we have the issue of federal law preempting state law? Can those two laws be read consistently? And as a practical matter, how is CenturyLink's franchise going to address build-out in the city of Richfield? Again, we're not going to answer that question tonight. And one reason we're not going to answer that question is because the decision about whether to grant a franchise under Minnesota law is known as something called a quasi-judicial decision. In essence, you're sitting in the position of the ultimate decision maker, and your job in this case is to listen to information from both the applicant, who was obviously in favor of their applicant and their franchise, or application and franchise, as well as those who may be opposed. And we have an incumbent operator who has issued a written letter to the city with a differing opinion from what you're going to hear from CenturyLink about their view of state law. So our job will be to gather this information, create a record for your consideration. Ultimately, of course, staff will work to provide you written recommendations. But at a subsequent meeting, you'll be asked to make a decision on that issue. Again, as a quasi-judicial decision, we'll make sure that you have written findings of fact to consider, that you can document your decision. We just want to make sure that we do this the right way, that we give everybody a chance to participate, and that we follow the statutory procedure. So with that, Madam Mayor, the procedure that's typically been followed in these hearings is for CenturyLink to make a brief presentation about their application. Certainly any members of the public or others can also speak to it. Many cities have then been closing the hearing if there's no further information to be submitted. And we will be back before you at a subsequent meeting, most likely in the June-July timeframe, hopefully with a recommendation and a proposed franchise for your consideration.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So CenturyLink is here. Hi.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. My name is Tyler Middleton. I'm CenturyLink's Vice President of Operations for Minnesota, and appreciate the opportunity to be here this evening. My objective today is to elaborate a little bit on the technical, operational, and financial capabilities that CenturyLink has to bring this franchise to bear under the application process that Mr. Grogan just described. When I'm done, my colleague Patrick Hagerty will speak to our position on the legal side of the equation. Comcast and its predecessors have had a monopoly service in this area for well over 3 decades. And the exciting thing for us is CenturyLink comes prepared to date to bring both competition to the market and choice to your constituents. CenturyLink currently offers a television service called Prism TV in select markets, 14 of them across the country currently today, in some large metropolitan areas such as Denver, Las Vegas, and Phoenix, and closer to home here in the Midwest, down in La Crosse, Wisconsin, and Omaha, Nebraska. We currently pass 2.3 million households and enjoy over 250,000 subscribers at this time, a number that is rapidly growing as we're deploying this in more markets. Prism is what's called an IPTV service. In other words, it runs over our internet network, our IP internet network. It's a very high quality digital picture. We have packages that have as many as 310 channels. Of those, 210 are high definition, the industry leader in that regard. And the features that it includes, and one of my favorites, is it has a wireless set-top box. So this means you could literally take your television from your living room into your kitchen, into your garage, and out onto your porch without being tethered to a coaxial jack wherever it may be located on the wall. We offer a whole home DVR service capable of simultaneously recording 4 channels and starting and stopping the program you may be watching in one room and starting it up in another. We have a feature called Multi-View, which allows a picture-in-picture-in-picture-in-picture, or simultaneous live streams all at once that you can watch. Navigation is very easy through a guide and menuing system. And we also have something that we refer to as warp channel change, which for those of you who are surfers, allows you to go very quickly through the channels without having the latency or delay that you might find in either a satellite or cable service. The question always does come, and this goes to the question of the build-out, is how do we deliver this to someone's home? Well, the first thing we do is we try to leverage the existing assets that we have, the wires, if you will, that Mr. Grogan referred to, already in place to most homes today. They are either buried, in some cases they're aerial on the telephone poles, but we really first and foremost try to take advantage of that. We have to do some things, investing in that network to make that network receptive to a video signal, and it also needs to have a speed of a minimum of 25 megabits per second to be able to transmit that video service. In addition, as we are, we've announced back in August that we've declared the Twin Cities metropolitan area as a 1 gigabit city. So we are currently in the process of deploying fiber to the home, where we literally are taking fiber all the way to the side of a house. And with those speeds, that particular architecture will also be able to carry the PRISM service as it's deployed increasingly over time. A little bit about CenturyLink, as Mr. Grogan mentioned, we are the current standing company that was once Ma Bell and US West and Quest, and now CenturyLink has been in position here for about 4 years. We're the third largest telecommunications provider in the United States with $18 billion in revenue and ranked 158 on the Fortune 500. We provide traditional voice and internet services to residential customers in 37 states and to the largest businesses in the country, including the largest businesses here in Minnesota, nationally and internationally, with both voice, data, managed services, and cloud services, kind of the latest buzzword out there everyone's hearing about. Here in Minnesota, we employ approximately 3,000 people, with the majority of those jobs located in the Twin Cities metropolitan area, and more than half of those employees are represented by the Communications Workers of America Union, an organization we're very proud to have part of our organization. Those employees include 500 network technicians, a number that we're actually growing right now. We are hiring aggressively. In fact, we have job openings if anyone's interested, as we expand the technician workforce to support this product. The good thing is that much of the underlying infrastructure to provide this product is part of the service that we already offer and are familiar with today. We also employ approximately 100 network engineers who are in the process of partnering with the network operations organization to plan, build, and deploy the PRISM service. So as you know, bringing this kind of product is an investment of many, many tens of millions of dollars to this market, and it really supports the ongoing upgrade of the technological infrastructure, not only in the general Twin Cities, but certainly in the Richfield area as well. CenturyLink employees are ready to bring this product to market shortly. In fact, we're almost ready, and in select areas where we have franchise agreements in place, we'll be able to start delivering the service as early as next month. So with that, I'm looking forward to bringing, again, choice to your constituents and competition to this market. And with that, I'm going to turn the baton over to Patrick Haggerty.
Madam Mayor, council members, good evening. My name is Patrick Haggerty. I am the Director of Government Affairs for Midwest Region with CenturyLink, here on behalf of CenturyLink. My colleague, Mr. Middleton, had done an effective job of presenting our capabilities and qualifications around the financial and technical elements of the application itself. I want to discuss a little bit of our position regarding the federal and Minnesota state law contradictions. Mr. Grogan did a fine job, and my presentation is going to parallel to a large part what Mr. Grogan presented. However, there may be a slight bias in my presentation. Starting to look at the Minnesota Cable Act, which dates back to the 1970s, it has relatively been unchanged since the 1970s, and it carries the two elements that Mr. Grogan pointed out that is the primary focus of looking at this franchise opportunity, and that is the level playing field requirements, which then turn into the build-out requirement. In 1992, United States Congress enacted the 1992 Cable Act, and one of the goals of that Cable Act was to compel competition within the cable industry. In '96, I offer up as a comparison, Congress and Judge Green primarily took a look at the industry we were a monopoly provider within, determined that competition would be good for that, for our industry, opened up our industry to competition, and it's important to note, opened our industry up to competition without any barriers to entry. And at that time, we confidently had almost 100% of the voice market throughout our serving territory, and which would include here in the state of Minnesota. As of this year, CenturyLink has less than 26% of the voice market. I think we'd all agree that competition has benefited the consumer in the voice industry, whether it be through rates or service quality or advancement in technologies around it. You follow that 1992 Cable Act up. In 2005, the FCC opened up a notice for proposed rulemaking. Their focus or attention at that time was to look at the level of competition that was occurring since the 92 Act and determine whether or not local franchise authorities, such as yourself, were unreasonably denying franchises to second entrants into the market or new entrants into the cable market. For the following 2 years, they collected comments and looked into that part of the industry, and in 2007 issued their findings on that industry. And they found that specifically what we're talking about here, that level playing field requirements and build-out obligations or mandates were unreasonable obligations to put on a second entrant in the market. They unreasonably deterred or impeded competition. We believe that's where the contradiction is. The FCC has clearly stated those are two things that impede competition in a marketplace. They prohibit that from happening, and the contradiction lies in the Minnesota state laws dating back more than 30 or 40 years that still contain that language in the statute. The FCC did follow up, and Mr. Grogan has provided a far more detailed table that you can review, but did propose an option that we are supportive of and is reflected in many of our franchises across the country, and that is a build-out requirement that allows us to enter into the marketplace, commit to an initial build, and in that initial build determine whether or not we have the level of success necessary to continue to build out. All that is addressed within the franchise. The language outlining what that looks like is in the franchise, and we're very supportive of that. It allows us to get into the marketplace with 0 customers, determine whether or not we can acquire customers to the level we need to after a large initial investment to continue to make investments and ultimately build out. With that, I will close and Mr. Milton and I both stand for questions. Thank you.
Council, do we have any questions?
None at this time for me.
Is there anyone from Comcast here? This is a public hearing, so we'll open up the public hearing. Would anyone like to come forward to speak on this? It's a public hearing. Anyone at all would like to come to speak on this? I'll make a motion to close a public hearing.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Public hearing is closed. Thank you for coming and informing us. We really appreciate your time. Thank you. Councilmember Fitzhenry, you have the next item.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The item I have under consideration is a consideration and a resolution awarding the sale of $9,435,000 in general obligation street reconstruction bonds, Series 215A. And rather than try to go through all this, I'm going to give it back to the expert, and he can explain what we're doing.
All right.
So, thank you, Councilmember. As you well know, I was you caught me off guard. I'm sorry. I guess I'll just cut to the chase, and I've got Brian Riley here with Ehlers and Associates, and basically the bonds went out to bid this morning, and they came back very favorable. And I think I'll let Brian go through and explain what happened and what our outcome is.
Thank you, Chris. Mayor and Council, thank you for having me for this evening. I'll walk you through some high-level detail. You should all have the handouts that we prepared by way of the sale day report. To Chris's point, we did put the bonds out to public bid, as the city's practice has been for quite some time, and that served us very well in this regard. I'll bring your attention to the inside cover of the handout. You'll notice a few differences from the title of the draft resolution to the final, as well as what you're seeing here, and that's primarily by way of the face amount of the bonds. Again, Chris had mentioned that we got some favorable results, and I want to walk you through the details there with respect to what was ultimately the final terms and conditions. We went out to market with the par amount referenced on the draft resolution, $9,435,000. We received 8 bids, which is very strong. We've been seeing good interest recently on the part of the underwriting community, and certainly with your credit rating, which I'll talk about here in a minute, we saw that in this case as well. Your strong credit rating is really the reason why we're able to attract this level of interest. And I should mention too, as we move throughout this discussion, please feel free to ask me to pause. If you have questions, we can address those immediately. We don't need to wait till the end of the conversation. Out of those 8 bids, the best bid was from Piper Jaffray here locally. Obviously, they know the city very well and have purchased the city's bonds in the past. They came in with what we call a true interest cost, our way of measuring the interest expense attached to the offer of 2.61%. The high bid then came at just under 2.84%. For your reference then, the differential then in terms of the overall interest component, which is by and large the vast majority of the expense that you incur as the issuer, was about $213,000. So again, you can see the direct benefit of bringing competition to bear in terms of putting the bonds out to public bid. Now the important details then are captured in the table in the middle of this page and speak to why we were able to reduce the size of the issue. Just recall that we're funding a particular dollar amount here, and then we're grossing up the issue for fees and costs associated with the transaction. You're also borrowing for a little bit of interest that's going to come due, and that's not uncommon. There are certain points in a fiscal year where you're just not going to have the revenue available to pay the interest that's going to come due in a relatively short period of time. So you capitalize that interest or build it into the transaction. Now in this case, we went out with certain budgets attached to the offering by way of the underwriter's compensation or the purchaser. They can take so much out of the deal for themselves. There are costs of issuance, certainly ourselves and the other parties that are assisting you in bringing the bonds to market. Both of those came in under budget. In the case of the underwriting fee, it's about half of the budget that we went out with. So Piper was very aggressive in terms of their pricing here. The biggest component of the adjustment then was that the buyer paid the city more than the face value for the bonds. I could sit here and try to describe to you how that works, the bond math behind that, but that's very common practice these days, and that's a structure that investors are demanding. So we're able to use that money to fund certain pieces of this, including some of the fees and that capitalized interest amount, and we don't need to necessarily borrow as much because of that. All right, so all told then, we're able to reduce the issue size fairly substantially in this case to the tune of $335,000, and that's how we arrive at $9.1 million in this case, all right? I'll pause there and see if there are any questions from the group before we move forward. All right, looks good. The next couple pages are the bid tabulation. It shows some of the particulars related to the various firms that did offer bids or proposals on the bonds this morning. You can see we've got a pretty wide representation across the entire country. Again, that really comes back to not only the size of the transaction in that it offers some meaningful compensation to these firms to be able to market it to investors, but also your strong credit rating at AA+. And for those of you that may not be familiar with the rating spectrum, AAA is the highest. Right below that is AA+. So you're one notch away from the highest rating available. And I do want to spend some time talking about the rating specifically because it's probably the area where you'd have the most interest in terms of some of that third-party analysis on the city as a whole. If you go in another page here to the Standard & Poor's rating report, there's some high-level detail here with respect to the analytical side of the credit rating. And there are 4 real key areas: the local economy and the demographics, the debt profile of the city, and then most importantly, financial condition. And I think I'll spend the most time talking about that. And again, please feel free to ask questions as we walk through this. Obviously, given your location, you're a large participant in the Twin Cities metropolitan statistical area, which is very vibrant and diverse in terms of the overall economy, and you're recognized for that. Currently, Hennepin County has a very low unemployment rate as well, well below the national average. So that's all viewed as very strong in that regard. You have good demographics in terms of per capita incomes and value per capita. That's all recognized within the rating. I'm going to skip over some of the financial conditions here because that's where we'll spend some significant time, I think, because that's an area that's under your control, as well as the debt profile here I'll touch on. For a city of your size, you have a fairly moderate debt load by and large, so you've been very frugal in that regard, and you've used your capital budgeting process to be able to facilitate those expenses versus debt issuance. So that is recognized here. You'll see a term, Standard & Poor's has gotten very linguistic in their reports, and they're using terms like adequate, strong, very strong. In some cases, you don't see it here, but they use things like weak or very weak. Thankfully, that's not showing up anywhere in your report. But in this case, they view it as an adequate debt profile, so that would say you're a little above the median from their perspective. All right, so you've got very rapid amortization. That means you're paying your debt down quickly. You don't have very large, you haven't pushed off your debt into the future, so to speak, and put that burden on future taxpayers. As well as the fact that, you have your overall payments on an annual basis in terms of your budget are not a substantial proportion. You're right over 10% of your overall general fund budget dedicated to debt service. Really, you have to get to about 25% to start to see some pressure there, and you're far from that. There's no issues there. Where I did want to focus some time is another area where you have a lot of control in this case, and that is in your financial management practices. Those are viewed as very strong in this case. That means that you have formal policies in place that dictate a measure of financial control, and that staff are reporting to the council regularly on high-level financial issues, whether it be investment reporting, budget to actual results on a monthly basis, et cetera. The staff are taking the time to inform the council on a formal basis to keep you in the know as far as where the financial health of the city is. So that's recognized as very strong in this case. Your budgets have come in with surpluses here the last few years. That's viewed as being a continued practice going forward. And you have good budget flexibility and strong liquidity. That means that you have significant cash on hand to cover any potential deficit situations or any emergency situations. And the budgetary flexibility really speaks to the fact that your general fund is strong and that you have money that's not tied up in places that's not likely to be returned into cash very quickly, right? So if you've advanced monies to other funds, you have a receivable and it's an asset, but it's not necessarily cash on hand. In your case, you have recoverable monies on a rapid basis and your cash is very strong. So all of those things are areas where you can exert influence and control and you show strong to very strong in all those cases. The economy portion, you'd like to think you have some measure of control over that, but by and large, that's out of your hands. But again, you look very well from that perspective too. The last 2 pages then are really kind of nuts and bolts, show the total capitalization of the issue and the debt service. I can tell you then from a summary standpoint, where you're most interested in is we were able, in reducing the size of the issue, we were also able to reduce the amount falling to the tax levy on an annual basis, a little over $15,000 a year. So again, that impact was lessened by a little over $200,000 over the life of this transaction. So again, very good results. I'm happy to answer any questions here and happy to field any comments that you might have as well.
I just want to say thank you, Chris Regis. For years, you have won all kinds of awards for the budgeting and the work that you have done to keep us in a AA+ now rating. And that
thank you. I've had a lot of help.
Yeah.
This man next door to me here.
Yeah.
Been a very big help and stuff. And Ellers has helped out along the way also.
I think we've had a long-term strategy of trying to be this way, so I really thank the staff because this put us in a really good position. It also put the citizens in a really good position when we look at our levy next time around in the budget.
Okay, I need a question. Do I need to amend the amount on the action to reflect what we just done, or go as we passed it, or?
I think that all gets adjusted because the resolution right now is blank, and I think that gets all adjusted after the fact.
That's correct. The proper number will be on the resolution, so you could either amend or introduce it as such, however you feel
as the amount of
comfortable.
the resolution.
Okay, so I should state the amount, $9,100,000, or do you want me to, as it's stated in the recommended action?
I think so, yeah.
Madam Mayor and Council, you should state as it's written in the recommended action.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that so we got it. So then I'll go ahead and make the motion that we approve the attached resolution awarding the sale of general obligation street reconstruction bond series 2015A in the original aggregate principal amount of $9,435,000, fixing their form and specifications, directing their execution and delivery, and providing for their payment.
Second?
Discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Appreciate that. It's always good when we get good reports. I always like to hear that, yes. City Manager's report.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, I really don't have anything to report.
Okay. Claims and payroll. Will we pass it this week?
So moved.
All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Well, sounds like we've got money to burn.
Careful.